Right now, you are building a career legacy you think will last. It won't. In 10 short years, most of it will be erased. Not slowly, not respectfully, erased. The meetings, the deadlines, the late nights, the titles you wore like armor, gone. Even many of the powerful CEOs who ran major companies a decade ago are already out of the chair, replaced by new names, new faces, new strategies. That is how fast the machine resets. And that is the trap no one warns you about. Because today, we are unpacking the psychological trap of the life and legacy story, and the 3 reasons your current career path is designed to forget you. But the most terrifying part is not that your company will forget you. It is that you may be helping it happen. There is one daily habit that quietly trains you to disappear. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Here is the first truth. A corporation does not remember as a family remembers. A family remembers your laugh, your habits, your voice in the kitchen, your hand on a shoulder when someone was falling apart. A corporation remembers access permissions. That's it. The moment you leave, the machine begins its cleanup. Your login is blocked, your calendar is reassigned, your inbox is forwarded, your files are handed to the next person. Microsoft's own offboarding guidance starts with one cold instruction: prevent the former employee from signing in, then preserve the mailbox just long enough for someone else to take over. Think about that. Years of your life can be reduced to a transfer process. Your name may still sit on an old slide deck for a month, maybe 2, then even that disappears. This is not personal. That is what makes it worse. It is structural. In January 2024, the median American worker had been with their employer for just 3.9 years. That was the lowest level in over 2 decades. In the private sector, it was even lower. Read that again in human language. The average workplace is not built like a cathedral. It is built like a train station. People pass through fast. And when people pass through fast, memory breaks. Researchers studying organizational knowledge loss reviewed 91 empirical studies and found the same basic pattern. When people leave, knowledge leaves with them. The system forgets because the people who carried the memory are gone. So when you say, "But they need me," be careful. They may need your function. They do not need your permanence. To a corporation, you are often a light bulb, useful while you shine, replaced when you burn out. The room stays bright. Nobody builds a shrine for the old bulb. That is the beginning of the 10-year shelf life, and most people never see it because they confuse being useful with being unforgettable. Those are not the same thing. So this raises a harder question. If the system is built to forget, then why do we give it our identity? To answer that, you have to look at what happens at the top. We tell ourselves a comforting lie. We say, maybe ordinary workers are replaceable, but real impact lasts. No, look closer. Even at the highest level, the shelf life is shorter than people think. A Harvard Law School forum summary of Equilar data found that median CEO tenure in the S&P 500 fell from 6 years in 2013 to just 4.8 years in 2022. And 39% of S&P 500 CEOs had been in the seat for only 1 to 5 years. That means even the people whose names appeared on earnings calls, magazine covers, and global headlines are cycling through faster than ever. Russell Reynolds reported that average outgoing CEO tenure dropped from 8.3 years in 2021 to 7.4 years in 2024, and then to 7.1 years in 2025, while global CEO turnover hit an 8-year high.
And this is the top of the pyramid, the corner office, the names people assume will be remembered. Now pause. If even chief executives are passing through like weather, what exactly do you think happens to the middle layers? Your title feels solid because you're standing inside it. From the outside, it is already dissolving. Equilar noted back in 2016 that CEO exits in the S&P 500 had already climbed past the prior year's total before the year was even over. Translation: even then, the churn was constant. This is why the 10-year shelf life accelerates. Your company is not a monument, it is a conveyor belt. One strategy replaces another. One leader replaces another. One org chart replaces another. And eventually, one version of you replaces another too. The employee who once swore, "This place is my identity," becomes an old badge photo in a deactivated directory. That is the brutal math. But here's where it becomes personal. Look at your own calendar. How much of it belongs to you? How much of your energy is building something you actually own? How much of your life is going into systems that can lock you out with one admin click? Because this is the daily habit I warned you about.
Every day, you tie your worth to a company-owned title, a company-owned inbox, and a company-owned schedule. You practice your own erasure. You train yourself to believe borrowed status is permanent. It isn't. It is rented, and the lease is always shorter than you think. So if career legacy fades that fast, what does real legacy even look like? That is where the story changes. Real legacy does not live in the org chart. It lives in transfer, in people, in character, in what remains after your access is gone. A company can delete your account. It cannot delete the courage you built in your children by how you lived. It can forward your emails. It cannot forward the patience you gave someone when they were one bad month away from breaking. It can replace your job title. It cannot replace the person you mentored who now speaks with more confidence because you believed in them first. That is the difference. Career success is often rented space. Legacy is owned land. And most people spend their healthiest years polishing rented space. Gallup found that 42% of employees who left voluntarily said something could have been done to make them stay, not because people only wanted money. In many cases, they wanted better relationships, more respect, real development, and a meaningful future. That matters because it reveals something deeper. People are not starving only for income. They are starving for meaning, for dignity, for proof that their life is not being fed into a machine that will forget their name. And Gallup also found that one meaningful conversation a week, often just 15 to 30 minutes, can radically improve engagement. Why? Because people remember human investment. They remember who saw them. That is where true legacy starts, not in being impressive, in being carried forward through other lives. So rewrite the life and legacy story now, before the system writes it for you. Build skills you own. Write things under your own name. Create relationships that exist outside your company badge. Teach what you know.
Save your energy for work that can survive your resignation. Become bigger than your role. Because the moment your identity becomes larger than your job description, the machine loses its power to erase you. One day, whether you want it or not, your final workday will come. A last login, a last commute, a last meeting that felt important at the time. Then the building keeps breathing without you. The inbox keeps moving. The dashboards keep updating, and the machine proves what it was proving all along. It was never built to remember you. So do not waste your life begging a system for permanence when the system itself has none. That is the real danger of the career legacy myth. It convinces you to trade permanent things for temporary applause. It teaches you to pour your soul into sandcastles below the tide line, then act surprised when the water returns. The 10-year shelf life is real, for titles, for access, for internal status, for the version of you that only existed inside somebody else's structure.
But your real life was never supposed to end there. Your real legacy is what outlives the badge. The wisdom you pass on, the people you strengthen, the values you make visible, the things you build that no HR system can deactivate. So work hard, yes. Be excellent, yes. But never confuse being employed with being remembered. Because if your entire identity fits inside your company profile, then your entire identity can be archived with it. And that is not a legacy. That is a disappearing act.